All right, welcome everyone to this week's episode of Queen's Court with your girl, the Queen of NE. And I have a special episode for you guys today. Wrestling, but not wrestling. So trying to bring some positivity and some lightheartedness and some joy into our earbuds, if you will. Just because, you know, we're going through it right now in all forms and fashions of life. So I figured this would be a fun topic to discuss. And of course, I'm not alone. I brought my good friend, Miss Ashley from Dojo and Dynamite on to talk with me about AEW Heels. Hi, Ash.
Hey, Queenie, how are you?
Oh, you know, girl. We're plugging through. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I was saying to Rich, I'm like, this is the first time I've done anything solo.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes. But I am good, hanging in there as well. It's all we can do, right?
It's all we can do. And I'm so excited that I'm popping your solo podcast cherry. This is exciting.
Yes.
Woohoo, go. I love it.
Love it. And on a perfect topic, nonetheless.
On a perfect topic, nonetheless. And especially in, as you mentioned, what has been going on, particularly in the wrestling world, I feel like AEW Heels is a great topic to discuss because of what it is and what it's supposed to be and what it can be, right? Because it's limited, like everything right now due to our pandemic. But
I know.
I think it has so much potential. So AEW Heels you can find now on actually allelitewrestling.com. So they have their own little tab. So if you were to go to that website and click Heels, you would find sort of it's very brief, right? Because it's just getting started. But what AEW says here is AEW Heels is a new community for women who love wrestling. The female forward movement led by Brandi Rhodes and the stars of AEW's women's division is designed to celebrate and inspire our female fans around the world. AEW Heels is dedicated to making this the best time ever to be a female wrestling fan. Be who you are and come as you are, because we're all going to come together as a community to change the world, which echoes, of course, when they first dropped AEW. In that press conference, they said, we're here to change the world. And we've heard that several times from the Bucks and Kenny, right, and Cody. So similar message, but all about the ladies. So what did you think about when that email came through? Because you were the one that told me about it. Because I saw that email and I immediately deleted it, and I thought I didn't get it because the top of it was just like, you know, promo codes for pro wrestling tees or whatever. And it was at the bottom just about AEW Heels. It was kind of hidden in a way. And you were like, hey, did you see this?
No, it was like, it was kind of at the bottom, and it's easy to overlook, but I was super excited about it. I've always I think you and I may have talked about this before too on like a previous conversation where I've always kind of struggled like making friends and fitting in, especially being a female who likes wrestling. I don't know too many other ladies, or growing up at least, I didn't know too many other ladies who shared similar passions. So I felt like I was always kind of like just wandering, trying to find my place. And when I saw this, I thought, you know, hey, this is a really cool opportunity. And like I said to you, it's great in theory. I think it has really cool implications because there's never been anything like this before. And I felt like, as I felt with AEW all along, like this is something for me. Mm-hmm. And like I have a place now. So I was really into it. And you were the first person I thought to share it with because I was like, you have to be there. Why wouldn't you be there?
I'm so glad you did because I thought I didn't get that email, which is what I said to you. I'm like, what
right.
are you talking about? And of course, you sent it to me and I'm like, oh, that's the one I deleted. Stupid queen. But, you know, sometimes you don't read it all the way through. There's your lesson, kids. Read your emails all the way through. But when we first got that email, I thought to myself, wow, this is different. This is new. This is the first company, aside from maybe some indies, that have truly embraced their female fandom. And I thought, whoa, like this is going to be really cool. And you touched on something about, you know, finding your place as a female wrestling fan and kind of finding where you fit in. I feel like AEW has done that from the get-go. It feels like AEW is for everyone. I know that's cheesy and I know that's a hashtag, but it's true in a lot of ways. They're very inclusive. They're very vocal about being inclusive. They partnered with Culture City, of course, to help children and people with autism and other disabilities to feel comfortable attending a wrestling show. They're very outspoken about that, and they're very outspoken about, people in AEW. The wrestlers, their fans, the people who work backstage. It's for everybody. They're not excluding people. So when I saw this email and we talked about it, I was like, whoa. Like, as a female wrestling fan coming into podcasting, as we have talked about, you're right, in that previous conversation, it feels a little weird. You kind of feel like you're solo. You're kind of by yourself on your own little island, Everybody's a guy. Everybody's a dude. And you're just here like, I like wrestling too. Hi. Yeah, okay. It's not all for men.
Exactly. And it's not like, obviously, like, people are people. So it's not like men and women are so different. But then at the same time, like, I mean, I want to talk about, like, makeup and ring gear, and it's you get a different perspective with females, even though we're all not as different. Like, you know what I mean? It's so weird.
It is weird, but it speaks to the culture of wrestling. Such a male dominated industry, and in coming into podcasting almost a year and a half ago now, there weren't a lot of females out here, or there were females who were maybe guesting on shows, but no female solo podcasts really that I found, very few. And now I feel like we're coming out the woodwork, and that's such a great thing to see. I love to see all these women, making their voices heard. But this is another way to do that. So that's what I thought of immediately. We have no idea at this point what it was going to be about, truly. But we saw that little promo video from Brandi, and it was all about female, unity in wrestling. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be dope. And right off the bat, we get a Zoom party. And I was like, oh, okay. We're going to get on Zoom. And it was like, dress to impress, and pick a cute outfit, bring a cocktail if you drink, or if not, bring a fun drink or whatever, and come hang out. And I was like, what time in history did a major wrestling promotion be like, yeah, let's just like chill with our fans, other than like meet and greets? You know what I mean?
I was so stressed. I remember I'm like, what do I wear? How do I do my makeup? Like, what am I supposed to do for this? But no, it was super cool. And it's taking advantage, obviously, of the circumstance, making the most of the current situation that we're in. And it was a very modern, forward-thinking event. I liked it.
I did too. I thought it was really cool. I didn't really know what to expect either. So I'm like, well, how many people are going to show up? How in the world are they going to host? I mean, I know that Zoom, if you have like the paid account, can host like, 500 people or something. But I thought it was really unique that they were like, we're going to do the Zoom party. And, just full disclosure, we paid, money to buy a ticket, so to speak, to attend. Just because I think some people don't know that, I guess, if you didn't go.
True, yeah.
Like, some people were like, well, how did you get in? Well, we bought a ticket, quote unquote, an e-ticket to attend. But what we got in that first meeting, I'm still blown away about. Like, I think about it sometimes, and you and I were texting through the DMs the entire time for that event. Like, I feel like I'm going to cry. I felt so welcomed. First of all, we entered into the Zoom call. They have a bop playlist going on, and we're just all singing Spice Girls and Beyonce and living our best life while we waited for, the event to get started. And what a show. I feel like it was like 220 women. I feel like about, I don't know if you remember,
it was over 200 for sure.
Yeah, it's over 200 for sure. And I was like, holy geez, there's a lot of people here. I was really surprised. And you know me, I don't really go on camera ever. So I was like, I don't know, but whatever. I don't care. It is what it is. You would see me at a wrestling event anyway, so it's no big deal. But the vibe in that Zoom call throughout, I thought, was just so welcoming, so positive, and it felt like a little sisterhood, which is what Brandi said her kind of goal was for this AEW Heels. So overall, what were your impressions of the experience of that first Zoom call?
I think the sisterhood comment is the perfect description, because it is truly how it felt. And I know that could be cheesy, but it was so welcoming. And I like the fact that it was on Zoom, because obviously you know, if circumstances were different, you could have maybe done a like a seminar or a Q&A where we're in a room as an audience and we're watching the women of AEW, you know, present like a keynote or something. And that would have
Mhm.
been cool too. But here in the Zoom, we had this chat where while Brandy's talking, while Allie's talking, while we're getting introduced to everyone, we're interacting with each other. And,
Right.
you know, you're throwing out, you know, hey, I'm in New Jersey. Where are my fellow ladies at in New Jersey? And you got people all over the country and all over the world saying, you know, hey, here's where I'm located. Like, let's try to network and see each other when things open up. And immediately it was just there was this community and the sisterhood that was building, and getting that interaction that you wouldn't necessarily have at a keynote because we'd have to, you know, be fully attentive and there's no side conversation. It was just good vibes all around, and it was really unique, and I felt immediately welcomed, even though we're all just kind of like hanging out. It's not like we were verbally speaking with everyone. It was
Right.
a really unique experience.
Yeah, it was really unique. And I love that you brought up that chat because like we were immediately following one another on Twitter and like trying to find each other, and like I'm trying to find you on the camera. I'm like, where's
Right?
that?
Yeah.
I know she's here. And like I saw you and I saw Amy, of course, and a bunch of other folks, and it was so cool to be like, hey, like I know you. What's
No,
up?
that was cool too, because it's like, oh my God, my friends are here. Like,
Yeah.
um, my friends, my old friends, and then I'm making new friends. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and the chat was cool. And I feel like immediately too, they were like, "Let's start a Facebook group. Let's all join this, and let's all do that." And oh my God, you guys are from where? I'm from there, and it was really cool to connect. And you're right, not something we would have had if we were sitting like at Starcast, right? When we're listening to someone talk, you can't like. I mean, you can have a side conversation with someone next to you, but you're attentive and you're learning and you're listening. So it provided that unique opportunity, and we were, all of us were muted the entire time, and that was great. But I think the cool thing too, that unless you were there, you might not know at this point, was what Brandi said that this was going to be. She said it was going to be a direct line to the AEW women's roster and to her. It's going to be a collaborative effort. We're going to create a safe space to love and talk about wrestling. We're going to have all these opportunities. I mean, she said so many things like panels, Q&As, discussions, and then kind of the hopes for the future of a non-COVID world where we can actually like be together. Thinking about like exclusive meet and greets and parties and stuff that happens live, right? So if you go to an AEW show, maybe there's a AEW Heels event before the show starts or whatever she said, wherever that's going to take place. And then if the boat happens for Jericho's cruise, AEW is going to be, Heels is going to be there, and you're going to have an opportunity there. But the thing that I thought was interesting was the pre-sale opportunities that you normally get, right, for AEW. But this one was an opportunity to sit in the same section as other AEW heel members. Do you remember she said that?
She did, yeah. She definitely mentioned a heel section, and I was joking with Rich, because normally when we go to wrestling shows, it's him and I, and then we have two male friends that'll join us. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm gonna be in the heels section with my ladies, and you guys can, go off and sit together. And he was like, "You're gonna just leave me?" But I
Like,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I'm hanging with my friends. Like, come on. But I think that would be so, from a television standpoint, I think it would be really cool if we're all in like heels merch, or even just wearing, our favorite wrestlers. Like, I think it would be like a unique visual opportunity, something that they could highlight. But I think along with that community building, that's such a great way to, foster and build these relationships and take heels further off the ground.
Yeah, and I think it's fun too that we could, sometimes I go to shows by myself because Mr. Queen can't always come with me. So I try to either I'll go with another friend or I'll go by myself, and that's always kind of sad. You're like, oh, wish I had a buddy. But this would be that perfect opportunity. Like you want to go, but you don't really want to sit by yourself. Oh, let's go sit in the AEW heel section. Perfect. I'll be around all friends. And I think that
Absolutely.
that's so nice. And on that first meeting too, you mentioned the merch. They dropped AEW Heels merch. And it's super cute, beautiful black high heels and,
Gorgeous.
AEW heels under it. And I bought a tank top right away to work out in. And were you part of the first 100 too that got the free tote?
I was so excited because
Me
I'm
too.
like such a sucker for like anytime like free merch is mentioned, like I'm totally game and I love
Yeah.
tote bags. I was gonna do the heels thing anyways, like I was in from the get-go, but I was like, oh, that would be so cool to have a tote. And yeah, I do have one of those and I love it.
Me too. It's hanging up on my wall now. So every time that we go to a heels meeting, it's in the background. I'm like, yes. I love tote bags too. I have an obsession.
I mean, it's
Um,
bad, but
it's bad, but I have a merch obsession too. Let's be honest, but it's
yeah.
fine. There were so many things though that came out of that first meeting and talking about all these different opportunities for what they might give us. I just kind of feel like the other thing that was so important was Brandi answering those questions. I mean, she answered like maybe 10 or 12, I feel like. And we had the opportunity when you signed up to, submit a question and have her answer them. And I thought, I've been a fan of Brandi as a valet and an in-ring, announcer. I didn't really like her in the Nightmare Collective storyline. It just wasn't for me. I didn't get it. Um, but I feel like I really got to know her as a person through this first meeting. She kind of was really vulnerable. Like, not that I know her, like, we're best friends, but I felt like we got to know a little bit more about her during this question and answer section. And she's very gracious and well spoken and kind. And it was just like such a different perspective that you wouldn't normally get anywhere else.
No, I completely agree. Brandy is such a strong, like dominant woman,
Yeah.
and I completely admire her. Like you said, she's an amazing speaker. I've always struggled with public speaking and I used to get such bad anxiety. Podcasting has helped with that, but I really admire how she carries herself in front of an audience. But gracious and vulnerable, I think those are perfect ways to describe the Q&A. She was extremely transparent, and it's just very honest. And where else are you going to get like that insight? I don't, not at a meet and greet, not on television. Like it's a really, I don't know, it's a cool opportunity.
Definitely a cool opportunity. And it was so cool to hear her respond to all these questions that we had for her. And she was very open. That's a great way to put it. She was just like, yeah, I'll answer it, whatever. Like, of course. And she was so gracious with all of that. And you're right. It's such a unique opportunity to have that. Because even when you go to like a Starcast or whatever, the questions are asked by somebody else. And it may not be what you wanted to hear about, because it's kind of like a live interview in a way. So these were a lot more personal questions. They were a lot more deep into like her philosophy and how she feels and how AEW Heels started and how she thinks women can be in the forefront of wrestling. I was lucky enough she answered my question. I was shocked and
She
I was
did. That was
so excited.
awesome.
I was like, oh my God, that's me. Hello. That's great. And she gives such great insight as to how she feels that, women can be better represented in wrestling, not just in the ring, but behind the scenes as well, which is kind of what this is in a way. It puts women in the forefront. And I think that that's wonderful. She also talked a lot about how maybe we'd have makeup tutorials and talking about making wrestling gear and all sorts of different activities. And that ended the first Zoom call. I didn't expect that we'd get a second one so soon, but we did on June 10th.
We did, and I tried to follow along with Stella's makeup tutorial, and I was so bad. Stella's amazing, but that was super fun. But I think, in addition to kind of holding true to one of the things we ended on with the first meeting, I felt the timing, even though it was a lot sooner than we expected, was like spot on because Brandi opened with, touching on the passing of Hana Kimura, and
Mm-hmm.
we had Mega from the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW talking to us about stress management and burnout and a lot of things that are really relevant right now that we needed to hear. I saw a lot of women in the chat, myself included, just feeling like we were being seen
Mhm.
and that we were being listened to. And it was just like, we know what's going on. Here's how you can try to work through it. Everything's going to be okay. We're in this together. And it was so needed, even though it kind of came out of nowhere. I think it was the perfect time to do another meeting.
It really was. And I was just floored that Mega opened with that stress management session. And I was just like, whoa, talk about a community. Talk about people who read the room, so to speak. Like,
Yeah,
understanding that the world is insane right now, not only because of COVID, but because of our jobs and money and personal problems. But all of the stuff going on with wrestling and Black Lives Matter movement and Pride and the passing of Hana and other wrestlers, it was just so overwhelming, and it still is. And just for them to be like, okay, so before we get into anything else, we're just going to give you some tools, tips, and tricks about how to manage your stress. Here's some advice that I have for you. Here's some ideas for you to try. I was just sitting here, like, I texted you and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I'm so shocked that that's the first thing they open with, like, in a good way. I just was so appreciative that they took the time to say, you know what, maybe these ladies need some support, not just to hang out together and have a great time, which we did, but it was also like, we recognize that we can do something for you, so we're going to do that.
absolutely. I couldn't have said it better there. When she started off with, kind of identifying like trigger points or understanding what you're going through and kind of how to cope. She's reading through the list and I'm like, I am going through burnout completely right now. And I had no idea. And it's like just helping us kind of work through that process and getting that self-awareness and providing that support, like you said. It's so important. I remember someone saying in there, like my own job isn't giving me this sort of support right now. And it's like, this has been, I was hoping that 2020 was going to be the best year ever, and it's been an absolute disaster so far.
Yeah.
And, I don't think anyone could have expected this, but it's such an unprecedented time with everything that's going on that the support it was so needed, even if it's as simple as just kind of going through some PowerPoint slides and saying, here's this, here's how you can manage. We understand you. And it I'm glad that you touched on it because like I thought that was so important too. It's something that could have been kind of overlooked, I feel like, but it seemed to resonate with everyone in the room, and that was incredible.
It really was. And you're right, that chat was going off. Everybody was like, holy geez, yes, like this is what we need. This is what we need to hear. We need to feel supported. And the fact that people's jobs weren't helping them, or, they were, a lot of people in there, are by themselves. They live alone. And, they were talking about those struggles. And I just thought, oh, what a way to start off. And the fact that they had the sense to do that first. Oh, so good. And then, of course, we had the Nyla Q&A and for Pride Month, which was fabulous. And I feel like we got to see a different side of Nyla, too. And it was so fun. She was an absolute delight.
She is a treat. I love Nyla, but seeing her also being kind of vulnerable and very open and transparent, but like still her like goofy and lighthearted self. I loved it. It was a different side of her, and just I can't even some of the quotes that she said, like when talking about, what do you want for trans wrestlers? She's like, we're just treat us like humans. We're just equal. And then
Right.
buy our merch on pro wrestling tees.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. Like no one, as I said earlier, like talking about men and women, it's like there are differences, of course, but we're all the same in that we're all humans. And it's like this, like, let's just get along. And it was really great to see Nyla in that light because, on TV, they're playing these characters as wrestlers and we learn to love them. But I think it's so cool when you kind of see the person outside of the ring and you get that that different side or perspective, and it just makes you love them so much more because you can relate. And that was cool. Totally different, but super fun.
Yeah, and we got to hear about her games and what she's looking forward to, and we got to see a little bit of her little office there with the sewing machine in the back. Of course, her
Yeah.
wife does a lot of the sewing, and it was just like an insight into her life, and you break the fourth wall a little bit. It makes
Exactly.
you root for them even more on television. It gives you a personal type of connection, and that's how I feel about AEW in general. It's such more of an intimate fan to roster vibe. It feels very indie to me. Like whenever I go to an AEW event, it feels kind of grassroots. It is in a lot of ways, but I mean it's on a major television network. But I think you understand what I mean. It's very intimate. You feel very connected. You feel like you're a part of what is happening, and that's like how I feel about these AEW Heel Zooms so far.
No, that's the perfect way to describe it. I've said this before on our show. Like, as an AEW fan, when you're in the audience, I feel like we're the supporting cast
Mm.
of the performance that they're putting on. And, they listen to our feedback, they're in tune with us, like you mentioned, but it's like being at the show, like we're all on the same page for the most part, and we're just there to have a good time. And it's very, very intimate, and it is indie, but in the best way. Like that's
Yeah,
not a knock. It's the best. It's the best sort of thing.
I so agree. And we closed out with, as you mentioned earlier, Stella's amazing makeup tutorial. She doesn't do Sheeta's makeup because it's their tradition to do their own, but she did a Sheeta-inspired makeup look. Of course, she's our champion. Hashtag Holy Sheeta. So that was really fun and kind of playing with colors. I never wear blue eyeshadow like I did when I was a little kid, but I never wear bold colors really. I'll wear red sometimes if it goes with my look, or like a cranberry color, or sometimes I'll put a pop of yellow in there, but I don't play with green or blue or any of that stuff. So I'm like, oh God, she wants us to do what? So we're trying to follow along, and I'm trying to do what she's telling me to do, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't come out as good as yours there. But
No,
it
hers
was so
was
fun.
amazing. Mine was like a jumbled mess. Like she's like, be careful when you blend because otherwise it'll be like all brown. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know. I listen, man. I'm trying, but I can't. And I'm like, I probably look ridiculous on camera. Like if anyone's watching, because no, I don't think everyone was doing the makeup. I'm like, if anyone's watching me right now, I'm a mess. But that was fun, and I really hope that we do more because I'm gonna perfect it. We're gonna get there one
We're
day.
gonna get there one day. I hope she does another look. I'd actually really like to see how she does Brandy's makeup, because that's makeup I would wear all the time. The black and the golds and the smoky type of eye is something I do on a daily. So I'm like, oh, teach me more tricks for that so I can make it better and look like that.
Absolutely.
you know? So I love that they did a makeup tutorial. I thought that was super fun. I kind of secretly hope, though, that we get a hair braiding tutorial, because Joey Janela's hair that Stella does is ridiculous. Like, why?
Yes, we
How?
definitely need hair tutorials too. I'll bring it up. We have to tweet them about it.
We do need to tweet about it. Speaking of that, for the future of AEW Heels, what are we looking for? What do we hope that we see? Given our restraints, what are we hoping for the rest of 2020?
Well, I do hope that we have a meeting again in the near future. Now, I don't know what the right timing would be. Like we said, this last one came up just kind of based on circumstances. So, time will tell. Maybe something around All Out.
Mm.
Maybe we do something around the major pay-per-views,
Yeah.
sort of like they would with the Starcast. Um, I like the fact that they did those interactive polls in the first meeting. What sort of
Oh
women's
yeah.
matches do you want to see? What competitors do you want to see? I think that's a really cool way to gauge the female audience opinion.
Hmm.
Um, and just to be able to give our input because we're fans. We like what we watch, but there's stuff, we may not like. But just being able to say like, let's try this, or I'd like to see this. It just it gives us a way to get involved, but it could also spin creative conversations on their end where you didn't think of something that way until you heard this opinion or this thought. So I think the interaction there is really cool. But hopefully, it would be nice to do one of those like meetings or cocktail parties like Brandi talked about. Obviously, um, with the virus, that's not feasible right now. But I think that is something that could be really cool in the future, like a more formal, ladies only event, getting together with everyone, kind of being able to get that extra interaction with everyone, that verbal, like face-to-face communication as opposed to the virtual chat. I just think that could be really cool, but I know that's definitely not feasible right now. But hopefully, once we can get back to somewhat normal or a new normal, that's something we could see down the line.
Yeah, and in a silver lining look at kind of way, we were supposed to be at different AEW tapings for TV. You were going to the Blood and Guts, right?
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
Sucks. I was going in Boston like a week or so after you.
I know. I feel you.
Sad. It's so sad. But silver lining, maybe by the time we get to go next year, as what it looks like right now, we get to still use the tickets we have, which is kind of fun. So we just get to use it later. But maybe by the time we go to a taping, there'll be some kind of AEW Heels event at each of our shows. That would be really cool. So that's something I'm looking forward to. In terms of immediate future, I'm with you. I want more Zoom meetings. I'd love something before All Out. I'd love another like little cocktail party virtually. I'd love that in the future as well in person. I think I'd also like a little more clarity on what it's going to end up being now that we're all virtual, right? So we're going to do these meetings, but is there anything else that we can do on our end to participate a little more actively with AEW Heels? So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to all flesh out and kind of see what's coming in the future. But also, I kind of really hope that they have Abaddon on soon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a reason for a new meeting, like all in and of itself. But no, I'm with you. Like, what are our expectations? We did not discuss the fundraiser or the donations that they did the auction.
Oh yes, let's do that because you have news.
Oh my, so yes, they did a raffle for Brandi's vest, donations or proceeds going to the Trevor Project and Black Lives Matter, and I won the vest, which is so absolutely crazy. I can't believe that happened. But like obviously it's not even about winning. The fact that they did that for such two great causes, not one great cause, two great causes, I think is just incredible. And I think what did we raise? Was it $1,885 total?
Something like that. Yep.
$1,800.
Just under 1,900. Yep.
And there was, I think, like 180 or 190 people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was under 200 this time. Yep.
So that, like, considering the amount, I felt like that was a pretty good number, and I was proud to be I was proud to be a part of that. I think something like that would be cool for the future, whether we're doing like a Heels fundraiser or just donating or doing fundraisers for other noble causes like the Trevor Project or Black Lives Matter. Like, it's a way to get people involved and a way for them to feel like they're taking part, because like sometimes you don't know where to go. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways you can get involved, but it can be a little overwhelming determining like which route to take. So I feel like this is a way we can all do it together. I'm kind of just rambling at this point, but
no, that's fine.
Be cool for the future. But yeah, that was really wild.
That was really cool. Congrats. Can't wait to see pics of you wearing it. This is like so fun that they did that for charity as well. And like I said, kind of when we started this, they're inclusive and they're very vocal about that. And they're very vocal about, doing good. And this was another example of that, which was just, so great. And we were very happy to be a part of that and very happy to donate. And I hope that they do that in the future as well. So that's another thing that we can be hopeful for. Anytime their charity is involved and they're good, solid charities that are going to really give back to their community that they're supporting, I'm all about that. So
For sure.
AEW Heels, I feel like, has been an adventure thus far. We've had 2 meetings. We have an Instagram now. They have a Twitter, of course. And I think that it's only onwards and upwards from here. So I want to say thanks for coming on and chit-chatting with me about AEW Heels and spending some time. I know you're busy in real life doing all of your wonderful things, but I appreciate your time coming to hang out with me and, spread a little joy, because this is a cause that you and I feel very strongly about participating in, of course, and being a part of. So thank you for coming and sharing with me. Please let the people know where to find you, and tell me what's going on with Dojo and Dynamite.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I always appreciate when you reach out. I love collabing with you, so you know that. Thank you for having me. But I am at Dojo and Dynamite on Twitter, at Dojo and Dynamite on Instagram, dojoanddynamite@gmail.com. We released our last episode a little bit early. We released it Thursday to cover this past Dynamite on the first round of the New Japan Cup. Given kind of the recent events, we delayed a week's worth of episodes. Just we felt it was in everyone's best interest and out of respect. We missed a week and delayed up until this last Thursday, but we're really excited to cover Fyter Fest. Big Dynamite events coming up this week and next week, so we'll be back later this week. I don't know what day yet. We're gonna drop a Fyter Fest recap with the next rounds at the New Japan Cup. So that's super exciting. Can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we also have New Japan, so at least there's that.
Yes, right?
Oh my good golly. Some positivity in the world with New Japan Cup, because it's back, and that's very exciting too. So thanks again. Go follow my girl. And Rich, hi buddy. I know you're not here today, but I miss you. And again, as always, my friends, enjoy the rest of your day and continue to be kind to one another.